Truth Crave is a site that asks the questions most outlets would rather table until after the fundraiser, which, as you'll hear, is part of the problem.
Today, we're covering work from Jonathan MQZ across 2 territories. What accountability for politicians should actually look like, and what private equity consolidation is doing to the markets Americans depend on every day.
Let's start with the accountability question. Who politicians work for, and what happens when the answer isn't voters?
The central argument here is that losing an election is not a sufficient consequence for betraying the people who elected you, and that the financial rewards of public office need to be put on the table.
The Post lays it out plainly. The quote is, "Politicians should know that if they sell out their constituents, they may leave office with less money, less influence, and no political future."
2 specific mechanisms follow from that. First, campaign funds. If voters determine through a legally established process that an official seriously violated public trust, that official loses access to remaining campaign funds and cannot use them in future campaigns. Second, investment gains earned while in office would be subject to forfeiture or a full 100% tax, on the reasoning that the public can never fully untangle how access, influence, or privileged information contributed to those profits.
Which is a reasonable suspicion, given that public office has historically been an excellent time to discover a talent for investing.
The Post frames the underlying principle this way. Public service should be a duty to the nation, not an opportunity for financial gain. The target isn't just individual corruption, it's the structural incentive that makes betraying constituents low risk and financially comfortable.
And that structural point connects directly to the piece on Republican Party devolution, which argues the party has built racism and authoritarianism into its electoral strategy, not as fringe behavior, but as deliberate political design. The through line is the same. What happens when political power stops being accountable to the people it claims to serve?
The Shield of the Americas piece extends that argument internationally, examining how a hemispheric anti-cartel coalition led by Trump may function less as a war on drug trafficking and more as a mechanism to reward politically aligned governments and isolate left-wing ones. The Honduras case is the sharpest example. A former president convicted in a U.S. federal court of facilitating cocaine trafficking was pardoned by Trump, while the United States simultaneously positioned itself as the leader of a regional anti-narcotics alliance.
The contradiction isn't buried. It's the whole argument.
Exactly. The Post asks directly whether the standards applied to cartel leaders are applied equally to corrupt political allies, and concludes they are not. Taken together, these pieces describe a pattern: accountability that is selective, consequences that are negotiable, and democratic institutions that are increasingly shaped around protecting those already holding power. The same logic, concentrated power, missing accountability, shows up closer to home in how private equity operates inside American markets.
The antitrust piece is asking why financial firms can quietly dominate healthcare, housing, and labor markets without triggering the rules designed to prevent exactly that.
The Post describes the mechanism. Many private equity firms grow by buying up competitors one by one in fragmented markets, a strategy called a roll-up, which allows firms to quietly dominate local or regional markets without triggering traditional antitrust alarms.
So the rules are being outrun by the deal structure, not broken outright, which is a more durable problem.
The proposed reforms include aggregated merger review to catch serial acquisitions, treating private equity firms as single economic actors rather than collections of independent companies, and extending antitrust protection explicitly to labor markets, where wage suppression and no-poach agreements currently fall outside most enforcement.
The stakes the Post names aren't abstract. Higher rents, thinner hospital staffing, stagnating wages, all tracing back to the same consolidation logic applied across different sectors.
Whether the subject is a politician's investment portfolio or a private equity firm's roll-up strategy, the underlying question is the same. who the system is actually designed to protect.
And whether the rules in place are honest about the answer. More on that next time.